You're live.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our special meeting of council to hopefully finish off our draft budget or finish off our budget today. So I will call the meeting to order. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Manley, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the agenda of the special meeting of council on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, and we will move right down to staff reports and get right into the budget. Public Works. Welcome, Tim.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Where's Jacques?
Jacques is not attending today. He was unable.
Oh.
I'm sharing my screen now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I know there was a question about the long-term debt finances for roads. It's account number 1431011502. The jump in 2021 had to do with a sidewalk vehicle that was long-term debt financed. And then for 2022, you'll notice a $6,000 increase. That equates to 1 month's worth of those two tandem trucks because we're not expecting to get them till probably December. Bear in mind, 6,000 equates to 1 month. So there's going to be $72,000 hitting in 2023 for those two tandem vehicles. So just, I'll leave it up to council to discuss now.
Okay, any questions on what Kim was discussing?
Just one question, Kim. What is the rate of interest that we're being charged?
It's between 2.75 and 3.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, we'll move into the Public Works Department.
Perfect. So this is our roads operating budget. We had gone through the capital expenditure budget last week. We had a few questions last week when we saw this off the top, which was mostly that the charges that we talked about. Did anybody else have any particular questions?
Are you referring to, sorry, just to the capital works? Is that what you're referring to at this point?
Well, I think we went through that last week, but I know some other questions came up. I can answer those
Sure.
now if you want.
Okay, so I just want to mention to council, just in speaking with a couple members this week, that there are some questions about concession 8 and exactly what we're going to do there. Concession Indian Lands 12. We have Dorney Road. So I think what we will do is maybe come back with a special meeting later this month to go through is basically, I think we okay or pass the envelope of money that we're looking at, but actually come back and let's revisit exactly what we're going to be doing on these roads. I know that Tim wants to do some evaluation of these stretches of road just to make sure that we're putting the right dollars where they should be. So does anybody have any questions on that at this point? I can't see everybody, so just speak up.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree that I think that's a good idea. I've just got a couple questions, and maybe Tim can maybe weigh in on these if you can, Tim. I texted Tim last night and asked him about SST, what SST meant, and I knew it meant single surface treatment, but What exactly does that look like? So maybe, can you share that with council, what you believe the single surface treatment means?
Yes, so single surface treatment is now I start off by apologizing because the roads need study had some acronyms in it that I'm used to different acronyms. So single surface treatment is the same as chip seal, which is what I'm very familiar with doing. And it's just pouring down an aggregate, a bituminous emulsion and then pouring basically like an aggregate on top. And you can pour lots of different aggregates depending on what sort of finish that you're after, whether you're trying to resist skid, whether you're really trying to just waterproof the surface. The main thing though about single surface treatment and double surface treatment, and what makes it different from asphalt, is it has no structural resilience. So it doesn't resist any flexure. It doesn't resist heavy equipment running on top of it. It's just there basically to provide a surface treatment, waterproofing or skid proofing. It's very, very effective when used in areas that are rural as opposed to agricultural, where you have sort of 5-acre lots and you're going to have sort of residential type vehicles driving up to a farmhouse or something like that. But it's not very effective for road treatment for agricultural vehicles, heavy sort of stuff, because that will fracture it, and then you're in a higher maintenance level than if you just had a gravel road, really. So yeah, and then the difference, and then you've got asphalt. Asphalt is a completely different thing. That's what the counties do on their larger roads. That's what we want to do in town. You especially want to do more lifts for industrial areas because that's really going to resist that heavy traffic and like heavy vehicles. So yeah, I can go way more into detail of that. I think we're going to have another meeting and I can go really into detail. I'll pull out my engineering textbooks and show you kind of what I'm thinking. And
yeah, that would be great. I'm really questioning, like the report says, like concession 8, Dorney Road, Kenyon Dam Road are all single surface treatment. And I don't know, I have some concerns that how well that's going to last, especially Kenyon concession 4, which we know is primarily agricultural at that end of concession 4 off Maxwell Road. It will never last. It didn't, the double surface that we did didn't last. So I don't know how a single surface is going to do any better or whatever on that.
Yeah.
Can I follow up, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Tim, just then, when it says, I noticed on a couple of them, it says pulverize and DST. So pulverize and double surface treatment. Is that the same as what we did on Kenyon 6 and on McCormick, where we did cold in place? Is that the same as cold in place?
No, not quite. I think I'll go into that later, but yeah, cold in place is different than single surface treatment or double surface treatment. Double surface treatment is literally doing single surface treatment twice. So it's just doing an emulsion, doing chip, and then doing another emulsion and another layer of chip. Cold in place has it's very similar to asphalt, but it's using a different mix that goes down cold. But I can go into detail on that in the future.
Okay. I'm just thinking we're looking at I think and mind you, it's early, but from what we've seen with the cold in place that we've done on those 2 roads, and I guess time will tell, but it looks like it's a pretty good process. And they do say in the roads need study that cold in place is a good, it says a cost-effective and environmentally friendly solution, 20 to 50% less expensive than traditional strategies. So it can extend your road life 15 to 20 years. I guess my concern is that some of the things that are listed in here, and you mentioned this, Tim, that some of the things mentioned in here are, they're talking about single surface treatment, yet there's really no place in the report that it tells what that is. And even the pulverized and DST double surface treatment is not listed in here or whatever. So I guess we just need to be clear on what we're doing.
Yes, and I apologize on behalf of engineers everywhere. We always get into our acronyms, and then and then it can even be siloed within different engineering firms. Cannot sometimes have their own acronyms. So I apologize for that, but I'll bring another report to council that that will go into detail here. What I do want to emphasize is the roads need study has really been a very good investment. And if you read the study itself, it says that this is an overall view and an overall plan. And what I really want to do now is go to these specific areas and get some more information, especially when we're looking at spending a lot of money on a road that doesn't match the overall plan for the roads need study. But I do think we need to follow it, and perhaps with those two exceptions, Kenyon Concession 8 and the other one there, that all of those other roads in there are very good, especially those asphalt overlays that we're going to do in town. Very important that we do them now so we don't see further deterioration in the future, and then we're not paying, we want to be maintaining, we don't want to be completely redoing these roads, right? So
yeah,
perfect, thank you.
Any further questions from members of council on this subject? Yeah, go ahead.
Tim, is it the road needs study that identified all of those small stretches? Like I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Did they identify that they should be surfaced with a single layer of treatment?
So the roads need study really gives a rating to each of the roads that we have, and has given a recommended solution to keep on maintaining those roads with what we currently have down there. So yes, on those, it's recommended different types of treatment, normally the same sort of treatment that we've got there to maintain the same sort of condition. But I think what you'll see in the report that I'll bring is perhaps we want to change the use of some of these roads, and we want to really just make sure before we do it that we're not getting into a situation where we have a high maintenance upkeep where our road use doesn't match our treatment, right? The treatments that they've recommended are not necessarily the same as identifying what we have there at the moment, what the rating is, and what the priority is to fix. Does that answer your question? I know that's a kind of a sideways question, a sideways answer, but
yeah, well, I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, it's just such a complex issue, surfacing and how the roads are used and all of that stuff. It's just that, I'm talking about the fourth concession, for example, is a really good example of a road that was originally surface treated. It was reconstructed many years ago and then double surface treated. And it was done really well. And that road lasted much, much longer than I think any probably road engineer would tell you that they thought it would. And then it got resurfaced, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And the treatment that went on it didn't last. So, and it was a double surface treatment. So it's not even sometimes the fact of whether or not it's asphalt or surface treatment. It's if the quality of the product and the way it's used isn't appropriate or isn't I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, but if the quality isn't kept up,
Yep.
you know, it doesn't matter what you put on it.
Yep.
Right?
You're
So,
absolutely right.
so we've got several different issues going on here that need to be part of the conversation. But I'm glad we're going to circle back on this, because I'm totally not sure about a single surface treatment on those stretches. I don't think it'll do us any justice.
Okay. Yeah, and to your point, it's very very important that we look at the quality control with our contractors when we're putting this down.
Right, that's what I was looking for. Quality control. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so go ahead, Councillor Manley.
Yeah, just wondering if maybe we couldn't, I think, in my perspective, the asphalt overlays for Bishop Street, Sandfield, West Boundary, I feel that makes sense. They should go ahead for sure. I'm wondering if we approve those to go ahead so that Tim can actually start to get some tendering ideas going on that, and save the rest of those until we look at our next get together on roads and discussion on roads and that kind of thing.
If I
think
may,
it's a good idea.
sorry, through you, Mr. What I'd ask is if we could approve the overall budget for the roads needs for what we have here. It does actually identify sort of what capital we should be putting onto the roads to achieve what we need. But I won't sort of tender the roads that I think are questionable. And I think we have a good understanding of those. The asphalt overlays need to happen. The Dorney Road really needs to happen, but especially those two I've emphasized there. I would like to go and do further investigation of those roads, especially just see how they do in the spring before tendering that. But I would appreciate if we approve the budget holistically as it is. And then, but when I bring that further report to council, we can see whether we move these funds around and move them into other roads that need.
Yeah.
Excuse me, one quick question on that, Tim.
Yep.
I agree with you in principle. I'm just wondering if you think that potentially further investigation on this, are we looking at adding more money to the budget to do that investigation? Is that going to skew us in terms of what we need to put down on these roads potentially? Or is it a possibility that the spend on investigation, and if we need to do something more on one road, we knock one of these off the list, you know, at the end of the investigation? That's where you're going with this?
Yeah, exactly. I think there could be, I think further investigation could actually give us cost savings, especially on the long term. So I think I would sort of use some of that money to do some investigations, which would cost a lot less than redoing the road, as we've said here. And especially, see, one I'm seeing here is concession 8, with what they're recommending with us, with what they're recommending there, we can survive another year with how it is, and we're better off doing that investigation. Perhaps I'm completely wrong, and we still need to do a double surface treatment in that section, in which case it'll just happen a year later. That would be the very worst case, but I have a very strong feeling from the interviews that I've conducted with the guys who are actually doing it, talking to McIntosh Perry, that we can get some cost savings actually by doing some further investigation and putting in the right treatment for that road.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'd just like to add, fantastic term. You used it twice, cost savings. Love to hear it.
Perfect.
Okay, so we will get into the actual budget. Again, we will go page by page, looking for any questions or comments on anything that, and perhaps Tim could either answer the question right now or do a little bit of investigation. So yep. I'm starting at page 63, road administration, revenue and expenditures and capital. So are there any questions on page 63? again, I can only see a few members of council, so if you do have something, please just speak up, identify yourself and speak up. I'll let you look at it for another minute. Are we good? Okay. Moving on to page 64, bridges, road maintenance, sidewalks, and loose top maintenance.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, it's Kim. I just want to let you know the budgets for wages and overtime are 0, but actuals hit. It's just very, very hard depending on the season of where these budgets are going to hit, whether it's bridges, whether it's road maintenance, whether it's snow removal. So all the wages for roads are in one budget line, which is under roads administration. Although you will see there are actuals hitting the various different areas of public works.
Okay, thank you. So any questions or comments on those expenditures? Seeing none, moving on to page 65, we have hardtop maintenance, plowing and sanding, snow removal, and storm sewers expenditures. Questions or comments? Looks like budgets are almost, well, they are exactly the same as the 2021 budget. Getting off easy here, Tim. Okay, so if there's nothing on 65, we will move to 66. Safety devices, street lights, Public Works building at 62 Kenyon, Public Works building at 95 La Hill Street.
Just a quick
Sure, go ahead, Councilor Manley.
question on the 95 Law Heel. We may end up with some savings there, I presume, under expenditures.
Yes.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, please bear in mind, I mean, a budget is your best estimate at this point in time. Any surpluses will go back to reserves. So even though it's budgeted, it will still be part of reserves that we can use in future.
Okay, so no further questions on page 66. Okay, moving on to 67, which is rare. My question is for, and I'm not sure who can answer this. We've obviously had some movements in the staffing at rare. Is that reflected within this proposed budget?
For you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it is. There's been some changes, but in the 2021 budget, one of the staff was not budgeted correctly, but any savings have been reflected in this budget.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments on page 67 in regards to rare? And again, Tim will be bringing back a report in the very near future for us to go through the whole rare budget and the discussion that we've been talking about for a long time. You know, whether it's worthwhile for us to stay, or is it worthwhile for us to just simply ship out our recyclables? Councillor Manley, go ahead.
Yes, just wondering if we could also hold the capital budget items until we have that discussion.
Maybe if I can, I'm not sure who can answer this, but I think that some of these items are health and safety related. It could,
one was fix the outside wall, and the other is LED lighting.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's Kim. These have been identified by our insurance broker as things that need to be fixed. And it's 100% funded through a reserve fund, so it has no tax-based bearing.
I see you're a little perplexed, Counselor, I know you're talking about LED lighting. I think there are issues within the plant that people can't see properly because it's dark. But anyways, I have no issue with waiting a month, but it is definitely it's definitely a health and safety issue.
If I could just comment, Mr. Mayor, it's Councillor Wensing.
Sure.
The building is still our asset, and I believe we should be investing in the suggestions that Tim has made, because it is still our building and we should make it current and take care of it. So I support the capital expenditures.
Yeah, regardless of what we do in the future, we are going to probably, whether we keep Rare or we move on, if we want to sell this building or however we want to repurpose it, I think these are some items that are going to need to be done anyways. So what's the will of council here, Deputy Mayor?
Oh, I was moving on to something else after.
Okay, could I finish this, Deputy Mayor? Everyone, okay, we're good with that. So go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So the actuals for 2021 with Rare looks like a loss of just over $240,000. Tim, that's the real number. So that's what it cost us actually to run that facility.
Just remember that these do not include these are as of December 8th. So there are probably there's an entire month and bills that are coming in at the end of the year. So these are not actuals for the entire year.
Right, minus a month. Does anybody recall if that is even close to, because I see 2020 was 290, that 290 and a half, and then 2019 was 336, almost 337. And then does anyone recall the couple of years before that? Was the loss higher?
Yeah, the numbers fluctuate. We've lost as high as I believe 450 to 600,000 in previous years. The numbers fluctuate annually because it's the business, just based on the business and the commodity prices. So yeah, I would say we've had bigger losses. So yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure we'll get down to the bottom of this when Tim brings his report. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Any further questions or comments on the Rare budget expenditures and revenues? So I'm looking at 67 and 68. Going once. Okay, moving on to landfill, page 69. We have revenues and expenditures on the landfill. And then we have waste collection, revenues and expenditures. Questions or comments in regards to these?
Brenda, Councillor Noble, just a quick question, Tim. Did we get a full-time employee yet for the Glen Robertson landfill?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we have. I don't believe he's full-time, but he's part-time.
Perfect, thanks.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, moving on to drains, revenues and expenditures, and to drainage loans, revenues and expenditures. We are on page 70. Are there any questions or comments in regards to this? Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The municipal drain maintenance, it went from 317,000 in 2019 down to practically nothing in 2020 and 2021 and back up to 200,000.
I'm assuming that that's if we're doing drains in those years, Tim?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I believe this is all funded through the Municipal Drain Act. So yeah, it's all complaint based. So when somebody asks for these drains to be maintained, then we go and dig it out, and the people inside that catchment area get charged for it.
Through you,
So
Mr. Mayor, Tim's exactly right, and you'll notice that you'll see maintenance grants and maintenance charges basically offset the maintenance expenses. The big one in 2021, which I can't say, is the Chenier, that one, and it's offset by maintenance charges. So it fluctuates depending on the needs.
Okay.
Right. So it's an in and an out.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments on the drains? Go ahead, Councillor Noble.
Tim, I was just wondering if you, sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor, if you and Dean were talking about doing a scheduled maintenance program, because some of these drains have been ignored for a few years and many have no issues, but just so we don't have any surprises, or we don't have to go at the last minute, or we don't have to go onto somebody's property when their crop is on, et cetera, et cetera. And if the program could involve letting people know, a few months in advance that it's your turn, we're coming, and then they can prepare themselves for a bill as well. So I'm just curious. I know that the previous drainage superintendent, that was one of his wishes, but I mean, I obviously don't know how complicated or how much work that involves. Just wondering if that's in the future.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So to be brief, yes, I've discussed it with Dean. There is, there's more I'd love to discuss with everybody when we have a bit more time, because everything is really linked. Drains affect culverts, which affect roads. So it's all integrated. And there is definitely merit to a preventative maintenance program. However, there is also benefit to doing it complaint based, because some of the, depending on what agricultural use and what specific land use is there, sometimes it's better actually to leave a drain as is. However, to your point, we have put a lot of emphasis on making sure that people know that we're coming. So we are trying to, if somebody is putting a question in, then we're sending out letters for the year essentially, and then people can know that we're coming, and know it's all part of the plan. It's I can imagine it's a bit of a shock to get a bill in the mail, but yes, we are definitely, and that's one of the things that I'd love to take credit for it, but it's really Zoe. Zoe has gone and said, okay, I want to make sure everyone has a good heads up. And we're trying to do that so people have about a year in advance warning when we're coming. Yeah, you can look forward to more reports on that in the future.
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Not, we will move on. Okay, so we are in the, obviously we are in the 10-year capital budget. Is there anything other than to discuss other than the projects or the hardtop maintenance? Do we have any questions on bridge structures or sidewalk maintenance or any of these other items that we've discussed? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Williams.
Tim, in the roads department other capital, I see that there are dollars to fix the storm sewer and the sidewalk on Marlborough Street. I think that's it's been on the list for some time. That's been very problematic down through there. Has that been engineered?
So sorry, we're talking about the capital works budget?
Just
Um,
we're talking about we're talking about the Maxville sidewalk on Marlborough, Maxville storm and sewer on Marlborough.
Yes, so Dean is working with Aquadrain at the moment, I believe, to do, and we're reviewing the condition of those that sewer there to come up. I believe we want to do a lining there. I can get Dean in to give you more details on that if you like.
No, I'm just mentioning it because that whole area was problematic before. It all got those roads got dug up, of course, for the water project.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was complete paving happened, and that area, the sidewalks are now lower than the road. So it is the paving actually created a drainage problem. And so I guess my point is that, and there have been these types of problems around the village due to the fact that work was done without it being properly engineered.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that this is actually going to be a solution and not a Band-Aid.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've been working with Dean. Obviously, I have been here only a short while, but I've really been leaning on some of Dean's expertise there. And we're not going to proceed with anything on Marlborough Street until we're 100% certain that it'll actually fix the problem. You'll see my same approach to the roads there. We want to make sure that we're not going back. We're not having a high expenditure in the future.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, just a couple other quick questions on this. The grade, what's it say? Grade at railway crossing. Is that a new item? Do we see that in our capital budgets?
Well,
Does anyone know?
There are some. Go ahead, Tim. You can explain it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, there is. I believe these are. They are in the capital budgets, and this is where we have basically water draining down into those into the tracks, which causes large problems for the traffic through there for the trains. So we need to grade those so that the water drains towards the drains and not towards the tracks. Basically, it is
a lot of the times we're told by CN on what we're to do on these, which is the greatest deal ever. We have to maintain all these crossings for them, and they have no responsibility. Now, sometimes they do come to us with, I know at the counties, we've seen that before, that they come and split a cost because they want to see it happen and it doesn't necessarily need to be done. But anyways, yeah, that was my rant for 2 seconds.
and one last thing, if I may.
Okay, just on Deputy Mayor Kim, did you want to make a comment on that?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. The railway crossings were put in the 2021 budget, however, did not happen. And this year we have applied for a Transport Canada grant in the amount of $85,000 to offset some of the capital costs of this. So hopefully that comes through.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, that's good news. I love those grants. I thought we already had a traffic counter. Obviously not, since it's in here.
It's not very good, I don't think.
Oh.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
Question, please, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Mather.
Thank you. Tim, just a quick question. I don't know if you can answer it right now or not. I'm looking at the bridges. Bishop Street, we have money in there this year and a substantial amount more next year. Total on that looks to be 15 over 2 years. I'm just curious what the 80,000 is before the 735.
So Now, actually, Bishop Street Bridge is something that I've been looking at. Sorry, through you, Smith. Bishop Street Bridge is actually something I've been looking at with the roads department. This is all, I've got the report in front of me here. It looks like it needs basically chipping and concrete injection to repair the structure there. And that is just going to be split up over 2 years for budget reasons. It's in generally fair condition. There's no need to really do all of that work all at once. So that's really just where that comes from. But that's a preventative maintenance to stop it fully deteriorating.
Okay, thank you. That's about 15 years old, if I remember.
I don't think the deck was done, Mike. I think it was just the railings at the time.
Okay.
Structure was built in 1950.
Okay, so they didn't do the structure. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the only reason I remember that is because people were upset that we tried to fix them to look like they were, but people want the original to have stayed, but they were completely deteriorated.
I remember the sides. People wanted to be able to see through them still, right?
Yeah. Any further questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the Waterworks Department. I just want to make sure everybody's good with us moving on to Waterworks Department and they don't have any further questions on the roads. Okay, let's move on. Tim, do you have any lead up to this, or Kim, any lead up into before we go into the actual budget details?
I do.
Okay.
Just so people are aware that there is I know in the past, council has directed administration to put basically 2% increase on water and sewer rates. And that is what has been incorporated into this year's budget. So there are 2% increases to both water and wastewater rates in order to maintain our water and wastewater system and any capital needs it requires.
Thank you. Okay, so we will move to page 76, which is the water revenues and expenditures. And they go through 76 and 77, as well as capital at the bottom of 77. Do we have any questions or comments on these numbers? I'll give everybody a minute, just have a quick look, just to refresh your memory.
I just have one curious question, Councillor Noble.
Yes, go ahead, Council.
Tim, I'm just looking at line 100, the 9,300, quit moving it. 2116. And I see the difference in price. And I remember talking to Marius after the renovations of the whole water system in Alexandria, that he expected a savings from updating everything in there. Have you still seen some savings, like based on changing out all three of those holding tanks? I don't think that's the right word, but all the renovations that were made for that money spent, can we definitely see savings? Like I'm just looking at chlorine went from 40 down to 25 now, et cetera, et cetera. Coagulant went down too a bit. Chemicals about the same.
Yeah, so sorry, through you, Ms. Fair. Generally, so there have been, Dean's brought me up to speed with most of the renovations that we've done in recent years. And it does seem like it will result in a cost saving. When meeting with the teams out there, it looks like that we're still in the middle of calibration. So and we've actually talked to the some engineers who were specialists who can just give us some insight into what some other water systems are doing around Ontario. And because we've been used to this, using the same system for so long that we need a little bit of fresh insight there, but we're not done calibrating essentially. And maybe some of the old processes that we are using don't match the new system, and we're getting some, strange things that we would do previously, adding these levels of coagulant and plasticizer for the flocculation of the new tanks has resulted in, like, we do 3 different tests, and what we would normally do doesn't give us the same expected result. And so basically we're bringing in an engineer to help us with those. Everything's within operational procedures. What I mean to say is that we'll be getting more efficiency as we go forward and as we calibrate these to our new equipment.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any further questions or comments? I guess if I can make one comment is that if everyone remembers when we were trying to figure out these water rates back in the day, and that we are now pretty much into year 2 of Maxville Water, and those rates are holding. We were told that some points that we were going to need to charge $1,800 a year, even as high as $2,000 a year. So I thank Kim and Sarah for doing the work they did to come up with that. So, and it looks like that those numbers have held true for sure. Any further questions on the water system?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Wentz. Just the overtime again. Maybe it's my own personal peeve that, to budget for overtime doesn't make sense if there's a way to staff more creatively, so that if you have issues on the weekends, perhaps positions should be, the schedules should reflect staffing on the weekends, so that we can look at reducing $40,000 that we're proposing for overtime.
I'm not seeing where you're seeing that on the budget.
One that's highlighted.
It's
Nothing
left.
left. There's nothing left.
1035, we're budgeting $40,000 of overtime.
We're not on item 1035
Yes.
on expenditures.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So Joanne hits on a good point here. From my understanding, we have reporting requirements. We need a check on these systems every few hours. The other thing that we use this for is for emergencies. When we had a power outage the other day, we had to bring in the generators, hook them up to the different pumping stations so we don't get any backflow. The emergencies, the power outage, obviously there's nothing that we can do about that. We would love to be able to arrange things so it is regular time for those 72-hour reporting. So over Christmas, the guys have to come in and check on the chlorination levels at Glen Robinson and the plants and make sure everything's good. Unfortunately, right now we're bound by the union agreements. And so that is a question that I asked when I first came in, because I didn't know. But the way the union agreements are set up right now, this is what we're stuck with. And perhaps that's something that we can negotiate in the future when those come around for renewal. But we absolutely understand that would be something that it would be ideal that we wouldn't have to budget for. But we're stuck with that now, at least until the next union agreement comes up, and then we'll negotiate and see what we can do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay. Looking at the 10-year capital budgets for water distribution, water treatment. Any questions or comments on that? I'll give everybody a minute to have just a quick look at it. Questions or comments from members of council?
One quick question, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Tim, and I'm not sure that this is something that you can answer now. I'm just curious, underwater treatment, we've got expenditures this year. We've got nothing lined up for the next 10. Is that, I presume because we've just done the plant and we're going to do this work in Glen Robertson, which should bring everything up to snuff. Are we just presuming that we're status quo for 10 years, or should we be looking at potentially some preventative maintenance stuff in there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, we should have a lot of preventative maintenance taken care of in our operating budget. But you are completely right. We are going to have some expenditures there for capital over the next 10 years. One of them would be the lagoon project. But that, you're right, that isn't detailed here. With water, it is, and like the drainage, it is an in and out. So we're going to have a look at that. We have a report from EJV. I think I might be mixing up the acronyms for the engineers there. That is going to get us that infrastructure report and what we need to do over the next 10 years. Like basically like a roads need study, but a water need study that we'll be able to put in there. But it won't affect the tax base.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Councillor Madden. I was, thinking puppies and rainbows for the next 10 years, but way to ruin that.
Reality, eh? Reality.
No. Okay, so we're going to move on to wastewater. So on page 80, any questions on page 80?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I resent this information to council, I believe last week.
Yeah.
Because the link in the proposed is not correct. It has to be corrected.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. I believe that concludes our budget presentation at this point. Kim, do you have any comments?
If I could, sorry. This is what I have so far. And I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. Council's looking to cut 6,000 from the tax base for economic development. Wanted us to investigate getting the canteen up and running for Maxville. Review GSP and MSC budgets. The fleet report is requested in March with a link to reserves and debt. Also, I'll be bringing the municipal affairs and housing report, which shows debt limits and where we sit with that. Council would like fleet separated by department and the ages or hours on all equipment noted on the fleet section of the capital budget. You'd like to get a 5-year list of administrative costs and maybe check with other municipalities to see their costs. Need to align the Maxville sidewalk and crossing needs to go along with the new construction project. They'd like the Public Works Director to report on RARE to council, and also for the Public Works Director to report on any roads needs updates in the spring. We talked about long-term debt on page 63 already, and we did talk about the RARE capital costs already. You'd like a scheduled drain maintenance program in the future and a 10-year plan for water treatment, and then 2% was included for water and sewer. And based on this, we're at a 1.67% increase in taxes at this point in time. So we'll try to get this information back to council for January 24th. I just wanted to see if I have everything in line or have missed something.
Yeah, so just go back to the, first off on the 6,000 drop from economic development. Do we want to drop that or do we just want to transfer that to reserves? Asking members of council.
Sorry, it's Brenda. Do you remember where that was from, Kim?
It had to do with economic development and I believe it was murals got cut.
Yeah, so I'm not just, you know, we're, I think at 1.7%, we're coming in with a pretty frugal budget considering the times. And I would think that, you know, just to take that $6,000 off is not going to make a huge difference. And it's not going to make a huge difference in putting it into reserves, but it's something. So everybody good with that?
I'd like to put it in reserves.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you. And I'm not sure if Ann is on the call. Just, you know, we were talking about the budgets for the Maxville Sports Complex and the Glengarry Sports Palace. You know, just in regards to hours and how that's all going to work. I mean, I think we're globally including the monies in there, but I just want to make sure that, and is Ann on the call? I can't see.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I am on the call. So
Okay.
thank you. We did review the budgets, and overall, it pretty much all comes out in the wash. What's gained in one facility is lost in another. So the recommendation from Treasury at this time was to not change the figures in the budget.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's Kim.
Yep.
Again, it's kind of like a shell game we're playing here, and it really, these times are tough because COVID has changed things, everything's changed things, and it would be awful to give things up just to have another tax burden in the future.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree, and we really, to be quite honest, I think it would be a guessing game on doing that. So I think globally, if we leave the budget as is for those two facilities, that it will come out in the wash at the end. So members of council, are you good with that? Yep. Okay. Before we move it further, are there any other questions, or is there anything that anybody's concerned about at this point that they would like to bring up? Thank you, Ann. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Williams.
Yeah, it's what with us not having any assessment this year, last year, and next year as well. It's just causing us, you know, so many problems as we're having to balance this budget, you know, through long-term debt and reserves. And I'm just wondering, and I realize it's late in the game. I'm wondering if there's any appetite at all in order to reduce some of the debt until we can get the assessment cycle back in 2024. And then our revenues will increase once again. Is there any appetite at all to look at cutting back the corporate fleet by an item or two in order to put some of those dollars back in reserves and to reduce the amount of debt? It's just a question, and I understand if council doesn't want to address that at this point and late in the game. It's just it's the only way to mitigate the fact that we have no assessment at this point in time.
Okay, my personal opinion is that we continue with the budget as is. The two tandems that we are replacing are very old, and we're going to, I think that to fix those throughout the year is counterproductive. But I do agree with the deputy mayor that in future budgets for the next couple of years that we're going to be looking at having to move some of those expenditures because and to come up with a real plan, which we've already discussed about when we come and talk about our future debt and future use of reserves and how we want our reserves done. And, you know, in speaking with the Chief Roy as well, he has some ideas to move some of those purchases forward. As you know, I explained the last time, I was concerned that at one point we might be financing 5 trucks. And I really just don't want to, you know, as I said, seeing the bridge work done in 2007 was actually done in 2006, but budgeted, had to be budgeted in 2007, and the wetlands engineering still on the books for this council. You know, and that was before my time even on council as an Alexandria Ward councillor. I would hate to do this to a future council. So I really think we need to have a good conversation on it. But at the same time, I do think we should proceed with the budget as is this year, but talk about moving things in the future. So I'm opening it up to the members of council. Councillor Noble.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, Kim, I've forgotten something we talked about less than a week ago. But we did today just talk about having an extra meeting for the roads, getting really specific information from Tim. But did we not say last week that we would have a discussion too about the debt and just sit down and talk about our big spending overall?
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned. We will have a separate meeting that's based just on our reserves, our fleet report, and our debt, and how we want to proceed in the future. You know, I think it's wise for us to maybe have a policy that's going forward that, you know, does give council the flexibility, but I think it'll give staff some direction in the future on how we want to see this move forward. Councillor Wensing.
Just a question, I guess. We're always looking at expanding the fleet, but have we ever considered paying certain members of staff their gas mileage so they maintain their own vehicle, so that we're not, you know, we're not always having to maintain vehicles? It's a huge additional expense, where perhaps in some cases, if you pay gas mileage, the worker, they own their own vehicle, perhaps they take even better care of it than what we can do when we're trying to maintain so many vehicles. Just wondering if that's ever been considered.
I would like to say that we've had a report during my time on council, but and that it made sense to purchase vehicles, but that I'm going to say that's probably 7 or 8 years ago. So maybe it's worth a refresh when we're looking at the fleet report.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone concur with that? Go ahead, Councillor Manley. Then
I agree with Joanne, but I'm thinking that the majority of our fleet is not. I mean, the majority of our fleet is fire vehicles, graders, tandem trucks, those kinds of things, which people are not going to purchase, right? That has to be our purchase or whatever. So
yeah, I'm referring to pickup trucks.
Right. Yeah. So I think I think the pickup truck. So if we were to show it out on a spreadsheet or whatever, would probably be a fairly small cost-wise or whatever as compared to our fire department and our large equipment for public works.
But it might be a higher cost. It might be a much higher cost than just paying gas mileage. There might be huge savings in some areas.
Possibly, yeah.
And another question I had as well in regards to reserves. Not sure why we can't be investing some of those funds for a better return, and just wondering if we've ever considered that rather than having it just sit in an account.
The problem with, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
The problem with that is when you invest, you often get penalized if you take those funds out earlier than their maturity date. So
I'm not suggesting the full amount, just a portion, because, you know, then of course our reserves might grow at a better rate than just having them sit there, not making us money they could be making us.
Yeah, I see your point. That's been the concern, is that we can't necessarily get the funds when we want them without being penalized. So whatever you might make on the investment, you're going to lose when you get penalized for taking it out earlier.
Yeah, I think it's just the right proportion to consider, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Madden, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to go back to the original point that we got to here, as far as putting off some of the capital expenditures for fleet, I'm just looking at our 10-year numbers. If we were to put something off next year, we're actually almost $500,000 more than we are this year. So we put anything off this year, then it's going to require significant shuffling down the line. And I see in a future years, few future years rather, we're a little lower, but I expect that's going to come back up as we have other shortcomings that are sort of identified within the fleet. So I'd love to think that we could, but I'm thinking responsibly, we kind of need to do it now. As much as I don't want to spend the money, but I think we need to spend the money.
Agree. I think you know, the discussion for the future is just looking at pushing things back until we can get MPAC working again. You know, and you know, because again, you know, what are we going to be doing in 3 years? We're going to get this huge impact increase because of pricing and everything that's happened, and we are going to do the best we can to not pass that on to our thing, but yet shortchanging ourselves at the same time. So this is, you know, we will at Good Roads be meeting with hopefully meeting with the Minister of Finance to discuss impact. It's a shame that we are paying impact at this point with no return on investment, and I don't get it. I just don't understand it.
I don't think anyone does.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Mr. Mayor. That's for sure. It's really going to put us in a crunch next year as well, and I think we really need to watch out for 2023 because it's going to probably be worse than this year. But we will see that relief in 2024. That's the only reason I brought this up, and I'm not really, you know, trying to push this or anything. It was just something that we needed to consider the possibility of. But I can understand how, you know, we don't really want to slough these things off, you know, when these vehicles are old. But I just saw an opportunity there for when the money starts rolling in, that we'll actually be able to afford it easier after 2024.
Come on, when have we ever been able to afford it? Okay, any further questions or comments from members of council? Kim, what is the next step here?
The next step is the approval of the budget on the January 24th regular council meeting.
Okay.
Basically, it's going to be presented as status quo as presented at 1.77, and we'll see where we go from there. And then I will make notes to the budget for the various requests from council for the meetings to do with debt and reserves and things like that, and the rare plant and those kind of things. So we're all on the same page.
So following, I'm just wondering how does it, is there not a waiting period for us to make final approval on the budget for members of the public to have a say?
Not at this point. On our public notice, we give the public opportunity. They were supposed to get back to me by January 7th if they wanted to present anything or wanted to bring anything forward, and I have heard nothing. So at this point, I have heard nothing.
Okay, excellent. Okay, if there's nothing else from any members of council, I believe we are ready to adjourn. Yes. Just want to thank you, Kim, for your hard work and your
You're
department and bringing a budget in a tough year. And again, we're going to have another tough year coming. So thanks to everyone, for all the members of the senior management team and staff that brought a pretty good budget to us. And as you know, you could tell when we went through it, there wasn't much. There was hardly any fluff in this budget. We're coming in at 1.7, about 1.7%. And if you look at the cost of living is at minimum 2.2, and I would that is that's not, I don't think that's the real number. If you look at the cost that if you're looking at fuel and everything that's gone up in price. So I think I congratulate you on a good budget.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no further questions or comments?
When are the plans going out, Tim?
They're out right now, actually.
Thank you.
They've been doing awesome lately.
I had another answer you could have given her, but we'll go off for that, okay? Just kidding. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wensing, seconded by Councillor Noble. There being no further business to discuss, the meeting was adjourned at 10:11 a.m. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you to all members of council, and we will, I believe we have a meeting next week, so, and we will get moving on some of those other meetings that we've discussed, get that done early in this term. Great.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thank
day.
you.
Stay safe. Hopefully
Bye,
we have some
everybody.
good news on Friday that we may be opening up according to our premier, but we'll wait and see what's happening.
Yeah. Hope, fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Announce an
All right.
announcement.
Yeah. Take care.
All right,
Have a good
bye,
day.
everybody.
Thank you.